Hey, friends, welcome to the Next Best Thing podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Cline-Thomas. Now, I'm here to help you live the life that you design instead of choosing a life you think you have to settle for. Happy Valentine's Day. Usually, with the podcast episodes, I had recorded them kind of weeks before, but this week I was like, let me record something in real time to really address where we are right now. And so this is just a quick stop by reminder in this week when we're focusing this weekend, hopefully this year, where we're focusing on love. I really want to talk about it in a different way and ask really, how are you showing love to yourself? Now, I don't want you to roll your eyes before you go ahead and roll your eyes and say, oh, this is the independent single woman. And that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about it in a different way because in the space that I'm in now, especially under the umbrella of career and life transitions, which this podcast falls under, along with the Rewrite, which is a community for journalists and storytellers who are invested in reassessing, reimagining, and reinventing their careers. I get to create space and hold space for people who are in transition. It is my favorite thing, honestly. Career and life transitions are my jam, y'all. It's my jam. It's such a privilege. And I have noticed some themes in doing one-on-ones with people, and we do webinars as well with the Rewrite, and just talking to folks. I have seen some themes of these people who are very caring. They are mission driven. They want to change the world. They want to impact other people's lives. But when it comes to themselves, they have some limited beliefs. They have incredible stories. They have all of these receipts, but it's hard for them to see it. So, in talking to so many people, I have recognized that my assignment is to truly be a mirror, so people can see themselves through the eyes of those who love and care about them, including me. And so I just wanted to stop by really quickly and say I hope that when you are thinking about yourself and thinking about your future and thinking about what's possible even in the chaos that we are experiencing right now, these are just some things that I hope you can keep in mind. Just because someone said you can't, just because someone said you weren't ready, if someone said you'll never do it, if someone said you weren't qualified, if someone said you were a DEI hire, if someone said you are not their choice, that doesn't make it right. It just means they're talking. I don't care if this is your boss, your family, your partner, your president. I don't care. The words, it's just data, right? And it's data that might indicate their lack of capacity to see you fully for who you are. In fact, your ability might threaten them. Shall we go there? Maybe on another day. We're going to keep this positive. It also might not be your time. The timing just might be off. It might not be your time. Or it's an indication that you are in the wrong environment and you need to be around people who can appreciate you. It reminds me of this time when I worked at the station and my contract was not going to be renewed. And we were having meetings with HR and all this rigmarole that was awful. And my news director came to my desk. It's like what you see online where it says nobody ... and then the person keeps talking. Like nobody invites these conversations, right? But this man would always come and always just add sauce, add sauce, add sauce. So I can't remember if this was one conversation or two conversations, but he said once was suggested that the school board in the city needed a comms person, and the superintendent really liked me and asked if I wanted him to put in a good word for me. Did nobody ask him? We never talked about my future or my desires or whatever. This was a dig and a slight to tell me to get out of the industry. The other time, and I can't, again, it might have been in the same conversation because I kind of blacked out part of what was there because the foolishness was just too much. He was like, "Oh, you should go back to one of your smaller markets." And I just looked, and I just said, "No, thank you." And that's it. Just dead face, dead eyes. No, thank you. So what did I do? I got a job in New York City, the number one market, won another Emmy, anchored more than I had ever anchored before. I anchored more in New York City than I anchored in any stop, really in every other stop combined. And I won an Emmy for anchoring. Okay. So it didn't matter that he was a hater. I mean, that was a fact. That's not even like a subjective statement. That was an absolute fact. And he didn't have vision. That is okay, right? Because that wasn't my business. Bless all of it. What was more important is that I had a vision for myself and I didn't let it break me. Got really close, bent, but didn't break. And I think that's really important, is that we take that back. And so it's just really important that we walk through this world, especially a world where if you are in a certain body, you have a certain gender identity, you are a certain race, you are a certain ethnicity, you are a certain, just anything, that a lot of labels are going to be hurled on you. But it's really clear, it's really important that you got to have some roots. You got to be rooted deeply, because folks will stay trying to chop you down. And if that is out of your control externally, what you can control is how you, like, really what you believe about yourself. That is your work. That is your responsibility. And that's the place that you have to go to. That's the place that I'm going to when it feels like externally all hell is breaking loose. So another thing is that that people tell me a lot is, "Oh, I should be here. I should have already had this. I should." And it reminds me of when I turned 30, and I was in a better newsroom, and one of my friends, dear friends, who's 10 years older than me, I went to her desk and I was like boohoo snot crying because my timeline, and I was supposed to be in DC by then. And I saw all these other people. I was supposed to have a partner and a husband and children by then, or at least a child on the way, or at least a prospect of it. And I was sad. I was like not joyful at all, boohoo snot crying. And bless her whole heart, she talked me down off of a ledge. And then I had my 30s, and then I had my 40s, which were better. My 30s were good, my 40s are better. And I know that those tears were such a waste, right? One thing I've learned to ask myself is, who said? I have to check myself all the time. Who said? When I tell myself, hey, I should have done, who said? And if I should have, what mistakes did I make? Oh, you didn't make any mistakes. You're just doing the best that you can with what you got. You're just out here doing the best that you can with the information that you have, and you're trying to make the best decisions you can. And these are the outcomes of the, consistently good decisions that you're making. So who said that? Who said you should? And, I had to really confront. And in this whole 2.5 years of unlearning, the serious unlearning that I've done, I recognize that I was adopting the ideas that others, maybe culture, had created and have consciously or subconsciously, told me. I adopted it. So that's on me. And I made it my own. And then I governed my life by other people's rules. And then I realized, you make the rules. It's your one life. You can do whatever you want with it. And so who said you need to do XYZ thing by XYZ time in this XYZ way? And the biggest thing for me is that I realized when I lived my life with other people's rules, I ended up becoming depressed. I was miserable. Now that I live my life on my rules, I'm not. And it's really just as simple as that. I said, let me just try. Let me just try. Let me just give it a gander. Here we are. And I'm not. And that doesn't mean things aren't difficult. But it means that I still wake up with joy every morning, that I don't dread my days, that I don't dread the people that I'm around anymore, that I don't roll my eyes as much. I hope I'm a more pleasant person. I have different stressors now. Like I am crazy in a different way. But I'm having a good time, generally speaking. And so I can't go back because this is better, right? And so sometimes it's hard to even take that chance because you think about what can go wrong, but what can go amazingly right. And that's what I've always wanted for myself is for things to go right. What if it could go right? And if you think about it, lately we've had like amazing cultural moments in the midst of the dumpster fire that is America right now. But if you think of Beyonce, if you think of K. Dot, Doechii, most recently, they're all making waves because they're doing things their own way. They're doing things their own way. Beyonce did a country album. It's really a Beyonce album because it's country inspired, but it's her own. She created her own genre. I don't know what you call it, Beyonce. K. Dot looked in the camera and said, "Hey Drake," took me all the way out. "Hey Drake." Tease, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Shouldn't I do it? I'm going to do it. Okay. I loved it. And then Doechii is just in a whole league of her own. I'm obsessed. I am obsessed with her so much. The people who sit and follow the rules are rarely remembered. They are not remembered. But everything, our education teaches us to color within the boxes. Yet our culture only celebrates those who color outside the lines or create brand new ones. So just remember that you have access to that agency too. 3, I've noticed that uncertainty fuels isolation. So what that means is that when I'm talking to folks and it's just like, it goes back to, thinking about, well, what will go wrong and not people feeling like what can go right, but that I feeling of what could go wrong and that it just kind of, you start to cycle down that path. A lot of people just turn inward while they're grappling with that internally and just isolate. They're not talking to people about their feelings. They're not talking to people about their process. They're not talking to people about, hey, what do you think about this? What did you do? Gathering data. So many people I chat with are having full-blown personal dialogues, painting themselves with broad strokes and running, and again, not running it by anyone who can give them perspective. That's what's so necessary is sometimes we're so in it, we can't see like the 10,000 foot view. So, I love my friends. I talk about my friends a lot on this podcast. And 2 in particular, shout out to Camille and Tanika. If I say something harsh about myself, they will, in the moment, pause and they'll say, "I don't like how you're talking about my friend. Don't talk about my friend that way." Like, clock it, get me all the way together in real time. And it's almost like that Iyanla Van Zandt meme where she's, slapping the table and she said, "Not on my watch." That's how my friends are. Not on my watch. Right. And that is such love. Because so much is already set up to punch us in the face. We don't live in La La Land or Wakanda, although if any of y'all have directions to La La Land or Wakanda, I will pay you a premium for a one-way ticket. I would like to be there right now. Hit me up on the side. I am very interested. But really, you need people who are not just positive in a unrealistic way. You need people who can do both, right? People who can see you when you can't see yourself, and then people who can also take your hand and guide you to better when you need a little bit of tough love. Maybe you need a little bit of foot in your behind so you can kind of get going. Um, but it's all about interrupting your negative self-talk, and it's just not just negative self-talk, it's the distorted ideas. If you tell yourself enough, you will start to believe it. um, and just having people who can help nudge you back to the center, because the truth is you can't make any good decisions in the distortion. You just can't. It doesn't work that way. When you are in, and you'll hear about this in a future episode, if you're in your fight or flight space, where you fighting for your life, you're in survival mode, you can't, your body can't also have hope simultaneously. Like biologically, you can't do that. So that's why I think it's really important to prioritize having a squad around you, um, especially when you're seeking your next best thing. It is really, really important to have your squad around you. Um, and so that's why, if you need a squad, if you're like, I don't really got those people, or I got one person, or I got two people, I think you need more than that, because they also have lives. You can't just you just can't pour your burdens on people. They got lives too, and they got their own stuff. So if that's the case for you, I would really, truly like to invite you to my squad. Actually, it is our squad, because this year, I told you my goals for this year, and one of them included starting a community called, drumroll, the Next Best Thing Community. See what we did there? See what we did there? Kept it simple. Um, And so that is really kind of the goal of the community, is that people can make connections, we can learn together, we can grow together, and that people can really foster real relationships to help take all of us together can get to whatever that next level is that we define for ourselves. We're opening enrollment on Monday, Monday, February 17th. Just for those on the wait list, you can get on the wait list today, by going to the show description and clicking the link. It's just really quick, and you'll get an email with a link to sign up when those doors open. And then, depending on how many people we get off the wait list who sign up, if there is extra room, then we will open it up to the general public and invite more people in. I would really love it to be. This is for, like, next best thing community folks, people who really want to get to the next level. Tell your friends to join, because we're creating this safe space for us to do this together. Um, but, forget what anyone calls successful. Let me tell you what community has meant for me. It has meant the premium, the number one thing is that it has meant I have a regulated nervous system. And you might not know the premium of having a regulated nervous system until you have one. And you're like, whoa, I am never going back. Like, the way my peace is, like, I'm like hypersensitive to my peace being disturbed now, because I've been able to, because of my friends, because they have attached me to opportunities, because um, I don't have to worry about certain things, because they've kind of walked the path before I got there, and had the foresight and the love to turn around and say, hey girl, there's a pothole here, there's a pothole there's a pothole there, and I listened, and I could go around it. They may have gotten in the pothole, but they told me, hey, watch your step, and I've been able to go around it. So I've been able to make different moves in my life and my career, because I've had other people who have been generous enough with their time and their information and their space to say, hey, caution ahead. This is how you navigate it. They have been my GPS. So that's my hope for the community, is that we can be each other's GPS. We're also bringing in experts. I've booked the first few first 3 experts for the first 3 months, and where we're going to have hands-on workshops about different parts. There are different themes every single month, and that will really help us kind of leverage our talents to get what we want, even in this environment. I'm kind of going off script a little bit here, but I just want to say that, like, with everything going on right now, you can't rely on systems. And I think that even though we've known that systems are jacked up, we found comfort in them even when they were created without us in mind. And so we have to rely on community. I feel like we got to go back to basics and rely on each other. Because, for instance, let's say you're looking for a job right now. Solely entering the job pool of, if your only strategy is to fix up your resume and apply, whew, you are climbing a very steep mountain. But if you were to have, like, apply and increase your community, some may call it networking. I say it's increasing community, because the people that I'm networking with, I actually like, I like them as people. And if you're doing both, then you can get recommended for things. How do I know this to be true? Because when I first started, I applied for some things, like, before I left my traditional news job, and I never got anything. And then after that, everything that I've done, I guess the first gig with the Atlantic, I technically applied for that, but I knew 2 people within the company who put in a good word for me, and I got hired within a week. And everything else, every dollar that I've made has still come from a friend that I made 2 seconds ago, and a friend that I've known for 15 years, like, and everything in between. So everything is not just OG friends. Some of the people who will be used on your journey to help you through are the angels. You haven't even met them yet. They could be on your path. It's just that you've got to do the things. You got to go to the places to create the opportunities for yourself. I'm always telling God, like, sometimes I'm just like, invited to some things, and I'm like, all right, I'll go. Everything is inconvenient for an introvert, right? Being outside is inconvenient. But I'm like, Lord, if I am just in the room, like, I know you're going to make it work. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know who it's going to be. But when you exist in spaces with expectation that, man, like, I'm going to be connected to something amazing here. And I can say that now because I have hindsight as my guide. There are places that I went years ago where I met people who we had a great lunch. We had lunch at this conference where I knew nobody, right? And then years later, they're the ones who pulled through when I needed it. I just signed a new client, and it was right at the time when I was thinking, "Ooh, girl, you need to go, and you need to go out and make some more money." Right? You need some more income. And somebody that I had met her twice, and then she had a conversation without me knowing, whatever, and she gave glowing reviews about me. She didn't know my work intimately, but she remembered, and she gave glowing reviews about me. And so I got this gig that is paying bills. I'm not talking about like little itty bitty. It's paying my rent, and it's going to pay my rent and probably my health insurance too. Every month, my 2 biggest bills. And so it can come from anywhere. It's just, have you put yourself in the place for blessings to happen for you? Which sort of segues into number 4, and my last point, is that just because you've never done it before, just because you don't know what it's going to look like, just because you don't know how the dots are going to connect, doesn't mean that it can't happen. Doesn't mean that you're unqualified. Doesn't mean that, it's not going to happen for you, that you can't be good at this thing. I thought when I was blowing up my life 2.5 years ago, I thought, okay, I got to wipe the slate clean. I got to just become this different person, right? Like I got to kind of start from scratch. The idea of starting from scratch, I'm like, man, because that's where the grief came in. Because I was like, man, am I going to leave all this stuff behind? I went to college. I went to college twice. I'm still paying my student loans, right? Like I got these student loans for this college degree, and then I'm going to not finish. I'm not going to retire in this career. Like, what, girl? Did you waste your time? That was a big thing. Did you waste your time? And I had a lot of grief about that because I thought I had to just start from scratch. And nothing could be further from the truth. You know, that is a really, really paralyzing thought, but nothing could be further from the truth. Yes, you may not have used your skills in this particular way. It doesn't mean that you can't. I no longer spend my days going out and reporting the news. Praise God, in this economy, in this political environment, I don't know if I could do it with a straight face. I don't know. I don't know if I have that fortitude because the Lord knew to get me out before I got fired, right? The Lord knew. But I do use interviewing skills on this podcast. I did not know how podcasts work until I had my own. I do media training of global tech executives. I had never trained people at this level in different countries, no less. But the people that I train, they have an amazing experience. We have a good time together. I've never had a business, did not know what I was doing, still don't really know what I'm doing, but here we are figuring it out, leading all the way into my journalism skills, having a deadline every day and having that muscle memory of having a deadline every day. You would be like amazed at how much I get done every single week because I came from a career where I had daily deadlines and it didn't matter what you felt, like how you felt. It didn't matter if you were in the mood for it. It didn't matter because, again, as Ben Kenyon said last week, you don't need motivation. What you need is discipline. And so I had the discipline. I am comfortable on camera, right? With if I have makeup on, if I don't have makeup on, I don't really care. That paralyzes a lot of people to do their social media. I know how to tell stories. I tell stories online, especially on LinkedIn. The storytelling I do online, people have seen it and it has created momentum in my business to do speaking engagements, to get money in my pocket, all because I know how to blab my mouth and tell a story. The only difference is that the story is about me now and not about some other person. But that is putting money in my pocket. Being able to synthesize how I feel, right? Like that helps me in talking to clients, talking to people who I can speak to, colleagues, and speak to clients and understand the audience and tailor a message around a specific audience. Like all of that, those I transfer my journalism skills every single day, you know? But what I did have to learn, because there was a learning curve, don't get this twisted, there was a huge learning curve. But what I did have to learn was how to acknowledge my superpowers. Like what are my actual superpowers? I had to be able to name them and get really clear about it. And I had to learn how to package it in a way that would make me marketable, make me attractive to new opportunities. And I did this because my friends helped me. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. My friends were like, girl, say it this way. Girl, do this. Girl, quote them this price. Because I didn't know what I was doing. So they saved me from myself. There's a quote, and I think it's from Nelson Mandela, and it says, it always seems impossible until it's done. It always seems impossible until it's done. So the idea of getting it done, being done, means that there is doing, which is action, right? And the community is created because I'm no longer just satisfied for you like watching this or listening to this. Clearly, you're attracted to this because there's a rumbling, there's a transition, there's a curiosity at the very least. And I want you to do something about it. I want you to not ignore it this time. I want you to lean forward, and I will be on the other side to hold you up, right? And again, we're not doing this alone. Um, Again, in the community, there are going to be experts coming in. I'm so excited about these people. So excited. Join the wait list, and you're going to get the lineup of the people who are coming. But we're going to be talking about specifically the skills that you need to develop, the actions that you need to take, and they're workshops, not webinars. So we're going to be working together, so that you can create the storytelling that you need, that you can leverage. You're going to be creating the goals that you want, and no one's going to tell you that it's too big. We'll probably say it's not big enough. Um, you're going to be around the community where you can ask, hey, I need this, and we can find the resources for you that you need. It's dynamic and fluid, and based on what the community needs, that determines the programming. If everybody needs this type of person, I will go find that person and they will come. It's just like that. That's how it works. That's how it works. It's not complicated, and everybody will talk to each other. There'll be challenges, there'll be accountability and support. So the whole goal is that by December, that we won't be with the masses who are still at the starting line. Let's be perfectly clear. Most people don't make progress, not because they can't, it's just because they're paralyzed, right? That they won't take a step, and they won't consistently take a step. But we are among those who will take steps together. So when we get to December, we can look back and be like, you know what? Look at how far we've come. Even if it's not where exactly we want to be, at least we're moving in the right direction. So this is my personal invitation for you to join our squad, the next best thing community. Again, doors will open on Monday, February the 14th, first to the people who are on the wait list, and then later on that week, to the general public, only if there are spots available. It's going to be limited spots because I'm optimizing for transformation. That's what I'm optimizing for. And not just an audience. I'm optimizing for a team. Let's do this as a team. And if you're listening to this and the time has passed, there will be enrollments every few months. But yeah, for those people who are like, oh, I'm just going to get it next week. No, no, no. The doors are closing on March 1st. They will not reopen for months. Because why? Because Andrea needs to be focused on this effort. I want to be able to deliver it very well. I really want I want to exceed people's expectations and be able to deliver it well. And so I can't do that if we've got to open enrollment. People like next week's no, no, no. This is not the year where you can put things off. This is not the year where we can have there's the margin of error has lessened. This is not the year where we can fool around. This is not the year where we can say tomorrow. This is not the year. This is not the year. Last year, perhaps. The year before, definitely. This year, absolutely not. Things have gotten entirely too real. Entirely too real. That we've got to do the work, especially if you are in a body that needs laws to exist. We have a smaller room for error. But back to Valentine's Day. I hope that you are showing yourself the grace that you deserve. I hope that you are looking back over your receipts and saying, you know what, I did that. That's why every Friday I do the Friday wins, because even if the week is a dumpster fire, we got to find the silver lining just for our sanity. For real, for our sanity. This is going to be a long year. Can you believe the president has only been in office not even a month? It's been it's going to be a real long year. And things are going to change, and things have already started changing. The government's, I don't even know what you call it. Whatever they're doing over there is affecting real lives right now. And so we got to be really clear, in my estimation, I think we have to be really clear about what our gifts are and stop operating in what people tell us we need to do. And we got to get real quiet with ourselves and start operating in our real gifts so we can, if we're all in our gifts, then we can create a space where we can help each other out. Because again, we cannot rely on these systems to do it. We need the laws. We need that. And so if law is your forte, I'm gonna need you to show up in a different way. Me communicating, I talk to y'all. I'm your cheerleader. This is my gift. Talking. Finding information, finding experts, letting the experts get to you, giving you access to the resources, leveraging my big network and having people do me a solid income. So let's all operate in our gifts to help everybody see the potholes that are around us and learn how to navigate around it. I love y'all. I mean it. Happy Valentine's Day. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening to The Next Best Thing with Andrea Cline-Thomas, a Mountain Court Media production. The music was written, recorded, and produced by Gavin Casey, also known as Dark Purple. Now, if you like what you heard, please subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and write a comment on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to share it with friends. I hope this episode helps you on your journey. See you next time.